Welcome to Go Play Esports Podcast with Christopher Turner, Go Play founder and CEO, esports coach at the Southern University Lab, and gamer. Discussions on the emergence of esports at the K-12, collegiate, and professional level. Let's go! Let's go play.
Hi, this is Christopher Turner. This is Go Play Esports Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. You already know what time it is. We're coming live at a special time. This is the Christmas edition. You can look behind me. I'm at home. I'm not in the studio like I usually am, but we still have a special guest today. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, and Twitch. Just follow us at Go Play ES. That's GEAUX. Play PLAYES. So today's guest is actually a friend of mine. We met maybe like a year and a half ago. Advisor, just a real talent in the space. Wisdom. He's a little younger than me, but wisdom doesn't have an age on it. And so I'm hyped to have him. I really wanted him to be on season 1, but season 2 was just some great timing due to his schedule and due to his many projects he's worked on. But if you saw me pretty much do marketing for this particular podcast, it's Cody Dragon. Cody is the founder of Geaux. He's now at KovaaK's. If you don't know what KovaaK's is, it's an aim, pretty much a game that helps you with your aiming on different first-person shooters. And he's had a long list of jobs and career changing and development within the space of gaming and esports, and I'm gonna let him dive into that. But let's go into what I normally do around this time. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio for my traditional users. I've already said that we're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Periscope. Please like, subscribe, and you already know we're going to get into some giveaways shortly within the next year. We have some incredible partners on board, and we look forward to developing those relationships with not only the listeners, but with our partners as well. Speaking of partners, let's get into the first partner now. Let's run a commercial for Control. Control is a meal place supplement that I use all the time. It's a great, awesome flavor. Like anytime that my daughters drink a meal replacement, that says enough. Cereal flavors, but they also have a new flavor for Christmas. Let's get into that right now.
Introducing gingerbread cookie from Control. Get it while it lasts.
Yeah, you can definitely go to controldrink.com. That's CTRL drink.com. It's 20 servings in that bag. They have a new gingerbread flavor. It tastes just like gingerbread if you're a Christmas fan. And then you can use our code for a discount. You can go to drinkcontrol.com, use code GOPLAYES, GOPLAYES. Anywhere, any partner that I have on board, we either, I either use the product and the code is going to be the same wherever. So GOPLAYES, and that's controldrink.com. Get that discount on their new gingerbread flavor. It's awesome. I love it, and you're going to love it too. Let's go into a commercial for T-Fossey Gaming. T-Fossey is my recommended, gaming glass company to protect your eyes from all the light that you be in front of the screen at all times. So we're going to run this commercial, and then we're going to bring Cody Dragon in shortly after this commercial. That's T5CGaming.com. I actually brought Cody in, man. Like, how you doing today, man?
Doing great, Chris. Thank you for the amazing introduction, my man.
Oh, not a problem, man. I hope I justified it, but I added a little snow and Christmas lights for you, man. You know, I feel like this is the Christmas edition.
I love it.
But let's get into it, man. Let's dive right into it. Could you tell the audience who is Cody Dragon?
Yeah, Cody Dragon. I mean, for what it's worth, for some people, it's almost every time I introduce myself, either personally or to a group, there's always people who don't believe it. But it is my last name. I was really blessed with that. My dad has an Italian last name, and you know, I've been an entrepreneur since I was pretty young. I think I had that mindset. I'm from California, raised in a pretty entrepreneurial family of, you know, musicians and such in the music industry, and always looked at them with bright eyes and go, wow, these people achieved quite a lot. What do I like here? And I always gravitated towards gaming. And I had a feeling I would end up in the space early on, just based off of my curiosity for it all. But, you know, I had a couple stints in e-commerce. But real quickly, when I had an opportunity to do so, I went into the esports industry at my first position, which was the director of esports over at Weed Maps, which is a big technology company in Orange County. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of it there. I was with Yahoo when I was, that was my first on-screen interview ever, which was pretty incredible. But, you know, it was a great run. I had a ton of fun with it, but, you know, really curious entrepreneur. I'm looking at solving big problems in the space and connecting the industry as best I can and as honestly as I can. Not just from players, but players to coaches to analysts, general managers, really opening up the ecosystem, and finding, you know, creative ways to do that, and with an emphasis on technology. That's kind of my focus.
Yeah. And I didn't know we had this in common before the show. So my uncle was like real influential in my life as far as like business and entrepreneurship. He's also in the music business.
Okay.
So like I tell people all the time, like dealing with gaming and esports, I'm like, man, this is the music business all over again.
Yeah.
You know, like
it was the good time, right? I mean,
yeah, it's a good time. Yeah.
And because, you know, my dad was he was very successful, did a lot of big projects. And my uncle as well. It's funny you say that. My uncle was like a big pop duet star, and they sold, you know, I think hundreds of millions of records or something absurd, right? So really big. And I was like really looking at it like, oh my God, these people are, I thought I was starstruck by my own family, you know, because they were so like accomplished. And I was like, wow. But yes, and I think my dad pushed me into that. He goes, you need to stay in gaming, after he realized what it was. He goes, because it reminds me of the music business when it was just getting going.
Man.
He always said it with a smile, you know, he always said it with a smile. So we had that closure, which was good. But we can talk a little bit about being a gamer in the family. I think hence why we support so much of what you're working on, Chris, is giving that space to kids who might not have it at home, right? Or the little bit of misunderstanding. Maybe not that they're persecuted for being a gamer, but giving them a space that's gaming specific. You know, that was every kid's dream, I think, growing up. I think a lot of people in esports want to create the world that they wish they had, you know, for the next generation, which I think is extremely admirable. I mean, that's some real admirable stuff that we're all working on here. So yeah, what you guys are building is obviously incredible. So we're here to support that any way we can, you know?
Yeah. And let's talk about it. Like for a kid, you know, I know I'm a few years younger than you. And my experience might be a little different. You know, I grew up in the hood or the ghetto, whatever you want to call it, man. And you know, we were fortunate, man. Like I had my mom and my dad for the majority of my childhood, right? Yeah. And we were able to afford some things that my friends couldn't have. So I remember those days, Cody, like, you know, having the first Nintendo on the block.
Yeah, that's big.
Now we got 30 kids in the house.
Yeah, yeah.
And passing the controller. Like, how was it growing from
that, right?
West Coast, man?
Say on the West Coast, how was it over there?
Yeah.
I don't have, I mean, I wouldn't say it was quite like that. I mean, a lot of kids would have, you know, their own little consoles and such, but the similarity is that it always brought us together.
True.
Regardless. It was always, online gaming wasn't a thing.
No.
So you want to play with others, you got to go over to their house. And that's what I remember growing up so much. And, you know, like kind of had a turbulent family. Like it's not perfect. I remember gaming being that space where all that stuff went away. And I got that experience when it was one-on-one with me in the game and learning and pushing myself, but it really felt like fully developed when I did it with others. So I love the social element. I made all my birthdays were Halo LAN parties with pizza.
That's cool,
all my great memories were around gaming. So yeah, not the same, but the same, right? In the sense that we have that commonality that gaming was a very social thing for us and it made us feel really good. I really liked that part of it.
And so, like before the Wii Maps gig, like at what point did you say, okay, I'm going to get into the space?
Sure.
What was that beginning stage for you before you landed?
Yeah, that's funny. It's I think when you look back at what you might most likely will end up doing, if you're really honest with your passions, it's 20, hindsight's 2020, but if you're honest and you stick to it, you'll see that you're going to end up doing what you were doing when you weren't being paid, right? You're going to end up doing that. If you really, really love what you do, you're going to probably end up doing that.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting paid for any of it. Obviously I was a kid, but I'll never forget it. I mean, there's a couple things that stand out to me that I realized I was the ringleader of sorts in my gaming group. I remember there was a show on G4. G4 was this old school, which is coming back, which I'm really excited for actually. Yeah. G4, old gaming thing, an old gaming TV network, just show, excuse me. And they had a series on there where there would be head-to-head teams. And they'd play a couple different games and have this esports tournament. There'd be 5 people on a team. There'd be 3 different teams. They'd play SOCOM, which was an awesome military. I remember SOCOM. Yeah, and then there was like Street Fighter and all these different games. And I remember calling in at the age of 12 to get my team on. And they go, you have to be 18 to get on, right? And I remember looking up the producer's number and all this stuff, trying to get on this show. So that was one thing that stuck out. I was like, oh, I'm pretty into this pretty seriously. I want to be on TV and compete and all that stuff. There was another thing that stood out to me when this is kind of a funny story, but I remember going into my freshman year of college. I was always pretty decent at school, whatever, but not super passionate about it. I liked English and history and learning, but applying myself in school was kind of a challenge for me. But I realized I was going into my freshman year of college. My main focus was to grow Super Smash Brothers on my campus. I don't know why. I wasn't a huge Super Smasher, but I really wanted to go in and develop a system, and I did. Right. Our part of the dorm was the most active Super Smash Brothers part on campus. You could go anytime to any of our rooms and there was always a game going on. So that stuck out to me too, that I was kind of organizing esports, right? And I remember I did a tournament and I'll never forget it. It's so funny, when you're doing things, I mean, especially in gaming, which is always seen as kind of an outsider thing, especially back then. I'll never forget doing a sign up in the cafeteria for a tournament. And the kid asked me, he goes, "Don't you have something better to do than this?" He just looked at me in the eye, and I looked at him. I was like, "What an odd thing to say to someone who's into their thing." And I kind of hurt. Obviously, I was like, "Damn, that sucks." But we stuck with it long enough, right? Obviously, and so here we are, right? But there's plenty more work to do. We haven't achieved the full success, but yeah, there's a couple things that stood out. I was just very, very, I wasn't a smoker myself when I started working at Weed Maps, but I would connect the dots that. For me, it wasn't about the smoke. It's about bringing people together. Yeah. And I realized that gaming always had that for me. It was always about bringing people together.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and then, I can see them doing that initiative, man. I mean,
oh yeah.
To be quite frank with you, I mean, it's part of the gaming culture at this point.
100%. 100%.
And so, I want to go further into your career, man. So, you actually were one of the co-founders of Geaux Gaming, and for some of the kids that's watching that might not know, Geaux Gaming is a big art that just went through some transition ownership not too long ago. But it's one of the big arcs, not only the States but worldwide, man. Kind of talk about that journey.
Yeah, it was a natural one.
On the start, on the ground floor.
Yeah, it happened naturally. It was a transition from Weed Maps to Geaux Gaming. Weed Maps couldn't have a team, so we needed to find a kind of a creative solution to having a team. So we were able to set up a new business that was outside of Weed Maps. Some similar parties that were involved, but just really wanted to be in the space. They really wanted to compete. We wanted our own team, right? And it started just kind of as a test, we're like, let's see if we can put a team into something. Let's see how they do. And this is what launched it. And I'll never forget it. Sleepy time. If you're out there, my man, Yachty, I'm going to send this link to you. You were the start of our incredible run, because this team at Gears of War, they made the deepest open bracket run of any team ever. It was a historic run, and it was under our banner. And from that point forward, we were sold that this is where we want to be. We want to put teams into tournaments. We want to see how well they can do. And we really loved that environment. So it was kind of a test. We knew we wanted to do it, but we were really lucky with our players. I mean, part of it, I guess you could attribute it to my ability to scout players, but these players put on such a easy performance for me that it was obvious they just needed a little support. And I loved working on the esports side, because Weed Maps was really about marketing and partnership activations and working with streamers. But when I got my hands on esports, the competitive side, I started to ask a lot of questions, and I go, which kind of segues into what I'm doing now, right? Where my job was to win, and we had a great staff. I had great, analysts and partners. And I mean, some of my managers are really on the ground floor of, hey, you need to talk to this player. They've got the right attitude. Our culture was really big. I was really big on culture. I had a player who asked what they're going to get for third place. They asked me once, they go, what's the prize pool for third place? And they didn't play with us ever again.
Right.
That's what you do, right? And you come from a sporting background.
Yeah.
You're always trying to win.
You're always trying to win.
Always trying to win. No matter what. I don't care if you're not going to. I don't care if you're going up against the Titans, or like the behemoths of final bosses. Like, if you're not going to win, but if you already have lost before you walk in, you're going to have a problem, Yeah. That's not the environment we're going to create. So, I was really, really, there's some cultural stuff in esports that I was really intrigued with. But, getting my hands on the esports competitive side is when I really started, I think, blossom into my role. And the big questions, like I said, asking big questions of not just winning today, but how do we win tomorrow? How do we develop talent? And it became clear that there's no software. It was all pen and paper, spreadsheet stuff. I go, there's got to be something. Like, how do we figure this out? Like, sports has all their software. So what does that look like for gaming, right? So, we had sketches and such, and we really wanted to figure out what this could look like. Internally, we're looking at internally developing our own software. But Ghost Gaming, I mean, there's so much I could say. It was an incredible run. We were treated to a lifestyle that, I'll never forget, living in a $15 million gaming house with private chefs and personal trainers and driving the famous Rolls Royce, the Ghost Rolls Royce. I mean, it was pretty incredible. It was pretty incredible pulling up to tournaments with that thing and, giving our players what we thought they deserved. I mean, we were a very controversial organization because of how well we treated our players. That ruffled some feathers.
Now it's the norm, though. Isn't that crazy?
Now it's the norm for the tier ones. That's
for the tier ones.
That's how you keep talent. But when you come into a game like Gears of War, that's not a tier one esport, and you're spending tier one money, it kind of threw off all the other teams, because they're like, whoa, all these players think now I need to be making X. So I don't know. It was hard to have those conversations with the developers, because we thought this is what they deserve. They put 80, 100 hours a week playing at the highest level. I don't want them to worry about rent, Food, any of that. I need you to focus. So, that was that.
You said something. You said something, Cody, a while ago, man. Like, go into depth about like what do you look for in like a gamer, somebody that you want to bring into their winning culture. Like, what are you looking for within that person, other than the skill set?
Yeah, culture is one thing. I mean, we're in an interesting phase where general managers really do rely on their players and the right players, like the captains, to build a team, right? It's kind of that coach and quarterback relationship, right? So I can't take major credit for picking all these players. I mean, there's a couple times when I made executive decisions to say, look, we need this player. And one instance was we were beaten actually by a player in a team in Paris, France on our Gears of War team. I'm pretty proud of our Gears of War team because of what we took them from. And, they ended up winning a championship after I left. But they were one of the examples where I was very hands-on with them. They were our first team, so I was really involved. But we got beat by a player his name was Identives. And during his post-game interview, I remember seeing his his leadership ability, like watching the way he communicated and the way he rallied his team, because they weren't always winning in that series. They were down at times. So I watched his resolve and I go, I want this player now. I'm going to pick him up after this tournament. It's just a done deal. So I looked for leadership. I looked for poise, someone who could stay calm under pressure. And I think you put the right pieces together, it can click, but yeah, you got to have a winning spirit. There's just no doubt. You got to have people who want to win, even if it means beating the old you, not just beating the other people. It means like showing up to tournament, dropping your bad habits. That's part of it. That's not just like we got to beat the other team. You need to beat yourself too. And if you can't let go of your ego throughout this process, then, you're probably not going to stay with us for long. I don't care how good your stats are.
Yeah. And so I want to get into this question, man. I think you've kind of wiggled around this question already. Why do you love esports?
I just love it. I've got a deep affinity for it. My love grows for it, as I keep going on, which is, I think, is a really cool. There's some times, after I left Ghost and that, I wasn't sure where I was going to be, and like kind of kept the faith that you're doing this for a reason. For me, there's a lot, man. It's a big question, man. It's a big question. I love creating things, like I said, or helping work on things that are creating a future for other players that I would have wanted as a player. It was hard as a kid to be a gamer in my family at times, even as eccentric as they were and forward thinking as they were. Gaming still has optics around it that, and rightfully so, a child shouldn't be sitting in one seat for 12 hours a day. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's chess. I don't care if it's driving, a race car. Balance, right? Balance. Feel good, play good, and that. So I understand where they were coming from. Every mother is looking out for their child, and their health and well-being, and especially isolation. Gaming is an online thing now, So I think there's a lot of work. I love it because of what we can create, right? And I feel just very blessed to be able to even have a position in this industry, like, period. And I just think it's because I'm super honest and, I was doing this before, like I said, without getting paid. So I love the opportunity. I love the ability to take risks and to innovate and to meet with pioneers like yourself who are working on creating these things like around the country, around the world. I've traveled to a bunch of countries for this sport, and I love people's risk. A lot of these gamers, they're going all in on this thing. You make $1 million as a kid, that's not enough to retire, but it's enough to put you and say, look, you're probably let's keep doing this.
It's a good jump start.
It's a jump start. So we're all in this together, right?
Yeah.
And I like that camaraderie between everybody right now. I love this feeling of, hey, we're in it together. Let's see what we can build. I think I made brothers because of this job, friends for life.
True.
Because of this. So I think there's a social element behind it. There's a cause here, Yeah. I don't just love the game. I love the game. Don't get me wrong. I love the discipline of gaming. I love it because I think it makes people smarter. The decision-making that you go through to play at a really high level. I love competition. I love, leveling myself up based off of playing against you. There's a great, if you really want to know someone, you got to fight them,
True.
That's what we do. And that's just how we learn from each other and grow from each other, is by competing against each other. So sportsmanship is something I'm really big on, and honoring your opponent. And I think that all exists in esports. I think there's a lot of really good things that can come from gaming and esports.
Yeah. And I think that's what we had in common, and we could go into this for just a few minutes and then we'll get to COVID.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So, I'll run down the spiel. So I'm at a small high school. My listening audience already knows my background as far as how and what and when. But what they don't know is, so I started looking for help. Period, man. I'm in South Louisiana. We have a big gaming culture, but we don't have a big esports culture yet.
Sure.
And still in development. But I'm online on Twitter, like late at night, reaching out to people across seas, because I know that's like where it all started.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I build some alliances over here, maybe they can introduce me to some people in the States that are like real people that really want to help. And this was before all the social injustice. This was before, Floyd, and of course we had that stuff going on, but it's before all of that.
Yeah.
And one of your counterparts put me in contact with you, man. I'll let you finish the story. Yeah, I'll let you finish the story, man, because your love for this industry, man, and being in it early, I think, you wanted to stay current and you wanted to stay fair. And I think that's one of the reasons why you decided to advise me
100%.
and to help me in the space, man. So I'll let you tell your story.
I remember it when it came in and we just took phone calls, just to get acquainted, and hear what you were working on. And, this is, what you're building, like I've said in a couple of our calls with the other advisors and stuff, what you're building on Southern University Lab School is a micro for a bigger, initiative. It represents, what we do on that campus is representative of what we can do around the world. That's how it starts, right? They're not disconnected. They're the same thing. So let's see what we can do here, because this has big implications for when you want to grow. And, it helps me gain great experience working with your students and helping devise what I think are the best things to put into the program. But back to what you said, I remember when Anders Bloom, one of my former colleagues and, a good friend of mine, introduced us. I recall just saying, wow, like, I'll take the call. Let's see what this is. But it became very clear very quickly, Chris, that you were going to, you had your head in the right spot on this thing and you were going to make it happen. And I was very, very sold on your ability to deliver early on because you were just winning every time. You were getting press. And then when Troy won, the high school esports, you were taking rings and you were giving your players experiences that they're never going to forget.
True. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. And, I say at times, that's what I tried at Ghost. I hope I achieved some of that, tried to bring players together and give them experiences they wouldn't forget. But I can only imagine what it's doing for a player like, Troy. Or is it Troy, right?
It's Troy.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has Get Money Murph, but, watching that. Yeah, like watching what you're doing for them and then getting that press and going on the local news station. That's a big thing, not just for your program, but for your kids, for yourself. So, it's something I'm really confident what we're building over there with you guys. And like, we can support it obviously through the AIM training side. I think that's where things get really interesting because, you've got you're going to have a very eager group of freshmen who come through that door and they go, oh my God, I just want to play games here, man. It would have been what I wanted to do. So I loved everything you're building, and it's been a great relationship ever since.
Yeah, that was a big part of it, man. Even like when I started building the whole vision and landscape, and not knowing that like my president at the college would say, hey, you need to lead esports for the collegiate level as well here. And so I'm like, oh snap!
Here
like we could really build this thing out, and it could be copied. Across the nation, like you said. And so, but getting back to what I was about to state, that was my main goal, man. Like, if I was a gamer and esports was like this big thing, back in the early 2000s before I graduated high school, or late 90s, man, like what would my esports room look like, or what would I want it to?
Exactly. It's a very simple question. Like, what would you have wanted?
Yeah.
And that's what you should operate from. Not, how do I maximize profits? Like, sure, cool, man. But like, what would you have wanted as a player when you were that old? I want a ring. I want a championship, man. I don't care what it is. I want a ring.
There you go.
I want jerseys. I want to feel like I'm part of my campus, in a really cool new way. Yeah. I think you're empowering these kids,
Yeah, but I definitely wanted to kind of tell that background story before we went any further in the interview.
Sure.
Like, tell people like it's more than me. It's people like you behind the scenes that are making connections and giving me words of wisdom when I need it.
No, but you've been going, man. And it's like I talk about you all the time when I'm talking to our partners, Dr. Daniel Addis over there. I go, man, you're gonna get it. No, 100%. This that you're gonna get what you're gonna get. So I think everyone's just super happy and we want to support this all across. And rising tides raise all ships, right? So
true. True. So let's get down to the last subject. I think mainly is why I bring you here, not only because of our friendship and what we do on the side as advisors and just relationships, but what is KovaaK's 2.0 and let's talk about what the meta is, and let's just dive into it, man. I'm really excited about this, man. I think it was a great move for you, man.
It was
due to like you're a first pressure shooting guy.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of a dream come true for me. And I've known the team over there for quite some time, and we've always been, allies in the space and have helped each other well before that. I was really fortunate. And there's just a lot that goes on behind the scenes, even when you don't know what's happening, and I don't know where that comes from, if it's the big man upstairs, but I was very lucky in the way we met. This was after my time with Ghost, and not knowing, like I said, and having questions about, what am I going to do now? Like, I worked on the organization side and I worked with players, but I want to solve bigger problems. I want to work with kids. I want to create these opportunities where, kids can come into an environment and have an experience that they can't get anywhere else. And we were seeing that players want to get better. That's like the main product. You look at YouTube, you look at what types of content do really well. It's all about how to get better. You look at channel size, you might have an account, like the YouTube account with 1,000 followers, but you make one video on how to improve your aim for Apex Legends, there's a chance it's viral. And that's been happening. Yeah. And 65%, I think Merrill Lynch or one of these big investment, firms did a report on viewership for these major esports tournaments, and, viewers report they're watching them to get better. So I go, there's a product there. What is it? Okay. And I like the coaching space. Don't get me wrong. I think you need to figure that's a 1-to-1 model that can only go so far, right? You need a 1 to 1,000 product. True. And we were thinking, and this is what's so funny, well before my time at Skybox and now here at KovaaK's, we were thinking there's got to be a sandbox so that we can replicate. Because if you go back to, traditional sports, I can throw with my right arm. I play lacrosse. You can throw with your left arm. You can run drills on your right. You can run drills on your left. There's cones, different things. Isolate, my training experience. You don't have that in esports, right? It's all just quick play. Developers are putting in good new things like shooting ranges and such, but it's not everything, So KovaaK's is really, a fully controllable, sandbox of sorts for shooters. So you can practice your aim in different environments. You can practice your clicking. You can practice your tracking, your target switching. There's just all these variables that go into it to replicate a game environment. So we've got a lot of great new products that are coming out. We've got our tracking trainer that we've just rolled out in our big new update. People love it. It's giving you feedback. Where are you performing well? But the vision for the company is well beyond the FPS space, right? So how do we create the digital dojo of some sorts, right? Where players can come and train their esports skills to then take those skills to their primary games and then, excel there. There's a lot on the line to be good at gaming now. It's, there's fame, there's money, there's opportunity now to be a good gamer. You pop off in one game, you might get picked up, look at Valorant. There's a huge new wave of new players. And so it's just never been a better time to be a gamer. We think there's a lifestyle gamer here that's competitive, that wants to get better at their games. And we're just kind of right in the middle at that. And it's truly an incredible product. I mean, there's a reason why it's a term now to get KovaaK'd on, It means something. You don't hear that with any other game trainer, right? Like, it is part of the gamer space. And our incentives here are purely to create great product for gamers. It's just what it is. It was done by, purely out of passion over the course of 5 years from Garrett, our lead developer of the original KovaaK's, client, did it for fun, and it just kind of took off. So it goes back to what we're trying to achieve at scale. Why does KovaaK's matter? Because for the first time in a sport's history, gaming, we'll call it a sport. Yeah. A lot of debate about that. We're not here to get into that right now. Yeah, we're not here to get into that. For the first time in a sports history, you've got all of the players who know more than all of the support staff. There's no coach, and I mean that in terms of the high school, the middle school, sure. All these new entities that want to get into esports. They go, Parks and Rec. How do we get into this thing?
Yeah.
So you don't want it to be a daycare. You really want to provide an environment where you can actually coach a player gets better, and you've got this coach-player relationship now, not just an administrator who just sits by and lets the kids figure it out. And there's value to that too, to letting collaboration happen within a classroom, 100%. But there's also a lot to, a coach being able to be a coach and helping their players get better faster. That's awesome, So this is where this product comes in. It can actually help your players get better faster, right? Where you as a coach can come in, use this software with not a lot of working knowledge of the game behind it, but have an experience where you're providing value. You're watching their metrics, they're tracking. You can see them go up or down and say, hey, what's going on? Let's try some new drills here for you. And it's the first of its kind. There's never been something like this. So we want to use that framework now to not just be in FPS, but in all the major esports. So we can open this thing up. How do we do a little league? If a little league were to exist for esports, what are the things that they would need? And this is one of them. This is one of those pieces of product that would help a program flourish. So that's why this is a perfect job. I wake up every day just ready to work, and I'm just super excited. This is what I would do if I wasn't getting paid. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. So that's hopefully that sheds some light on what KovaaK's is and what our goals are here. And it only happens because of people like you, Chris, and partners around the world. It only goes so far. It takes people who want to use it and to want to create something. And we're here to find them. We're here to work with them.
I mean, we talk about it quite often, man. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. Being over ARG or being over a program, and it's that GM role, man. Sheesh. We need a product like this.
We need a product. It's what I would. It's what I would have used at Geaux Gaming. It's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, like down to the my Rocket League team, which is Troy's actually the captain of my Rocket League team. So
Troy's an animal, man.
Man, he's an animal, man.
He's an animal.
So, I can't forget about DeCorian and Tyler too. They're the other counterparts to the league team.
Oh yeah.
But even they put in work, man. They played Rocket League, but not at a competitive level before 9 weeks ago. And so I brung in my assistant coach. I was able to use some fundraising money that I had laying around, man, to bring in T Bates from LSU's Rocket League team. And so they've won a Western Conference final. They've been the second runner-up, runner-up for the Nationals. And so just to bring in somebody like that, man. But if I had, what KovaaK's has developed, and into that, I mean, I can still bring in.
I'll give you some stuff you can use in the meantime, because
Rocket
League has a very vibrant modding community, right?
Yeah,
and they are looking at this. The problem with this isn't a problem. I need to frame this correctly. Esports and game development are on a crash course, right?
Yeah, it is.
You've got the first time. These developers don't necessarily know what you need as a GM who wants to fast track his players, but the community does, right? The community has the idea of, and Rocket League is a great game because it's sports-like. We did this when I ran summer camps last summer. We had drills, and that's a great game. Yeah, that's a great game to do it. So I'll send you plenty of stuff after this that we can take a look at together and show you, because there's some pretty cool tools that are KovaaK's like. They're not aim training, but they're meant for player development.
But I'm excited about the KovaaK's opportunity, man. Because for me as a gamer, growing up, my favorite game was 007. Golden Eye.
Don't get me started.
That was my stuff, man. And so even now, I stayed up playing PUBG last night till 2 a.m. because I didn't have to work today.
You were playing with Herman for a while, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
So we ran that until 2 a.m., man. And so I'm a big Rainbow Siege fan, Call of Duty. I'm that first person shooting guy. And so to implement this with the kids, man, and get them I'm because Southern Lab is pre-K through 12.
Yeah.
And so even for my kids that are 4th, 5th grade, that can't really make it to that middle school team yet, even putting them on there early.
Oh yeah.
It's It's a game changer, man.
It's a game changer. It's a game in and of itself, too. I mean, if you think about, we have some users who really just play KovaaK's.
Yeah.
It's that good of a product. It's not, they'll stay in there and they just like, there's something to hitting a target. You know, it's like basketball. It's a primal thing, being able to hit a target, you know, hunting. There's a lot of implications for being able to channel your mind on one thing, right? Taking aim, right? Some people just love that experience. It's not easy to sync your mind to your motor muscles. Just that itself is something that people like to do. Then you put it on the backdrop of gaming where it's competitive against another person. That's a whole nother experience. But, you know, we're looking forward to working with kids and, you know, and also for families to see, when you see KovaaK's in the wild in a kid using it or a player using it, as an outsider, when they see that happening, they see, oh, they're just doing target practice. They're not being violent. This is what they're into. They like to just hit targets and
there you go.
In their mount. They use their mouse and their mind. So that's why we always liked gaming. We're not violent people, man. You know, gamers, they're not in it for the violence. They like the practice. They like the discipline and the competition against another person. And so I think KovaaK's is really powerful because it helps reframe what it is that FPS players are doing, because FPS players have the hardest challenge of them all in the institutional space. Counter-Strike is not allowed on some collegiate campuses due to the violent of it, which is a real shame, but I understand it because that game is a beautiful esport. You know, obviously it's almost the soccer of esports. It's a beautiful game.
I have my computers, man. We're about to get in on Counter-Strike.
I know. See, you guys are great. Herman's great. You're great. You've got the support, but not every campus is like that. So, it's tough. And that's tough to be a Counter-Strike player, to see these other esports programs going and you're like, oh, I can't play mine because they don't get us. So there's a great opportunity for us to work as a company, KovaaK's, to educate. Here's what's going on here. So, you know, and maybe they get it, maybe they don't. And I get the optics. I understand terrorism and things like that. I understand that, especially in America. So yeah, KovaaK's has got a great cause behind it as well. We're here to reshape the optics of what esports training looks like. So, you know, we're just over the moon, man. We're ready to rock.
I have a LinkedIn question, and then we can wrap up. Adam Lopez, he asked, what behind KovaaK's, like, was the inspiration from custom aim maps from Counter-Strike or other shooters, and how is KovaaK's different from other programs?
Sure, that's a great question, Adam. You know, I'm not sure where the inspiration came from. I think. From a design standpoint, I'm pretty sure what it has to do, because of what you're able to do in KovaaK's. You can hop in and recreate the physics of any game. Let's say you play Overwatch and you're a Pharah main. You can change the physics so that your projectiles are moving at the same speed as that. Then you can hop over to McCree, change a couple settings, and be McCree. So in Counter-Strike, you're really just playing in Counter-Strike, and those are, you know, your weapons. But yeah, obviously isolating aim was one of the main ones. And that goes into how we're different. We have way more control over some of our competitors and some of the other products out there, with over 7,500 different scenarios that our users have created. It's kind of the de facto aim trainer. We've got other movers, which are great, showing that there is a market for it with other competitors, but KovaaK's still remains kind of the #1 aim trainer in the world. We were first to market, but also there's just a ton of great tech behind it. You know, underlying, we're coded in Unreal Engine. So it's a really robust backend. I mean, technically speaking, it's extremely, you know, accurate compared to some of the other ones. So if you want to replicate that game environment, KovaaK's is the one you want to use, right? But you think if you're not getting close enough, it's almost, why would you aim train? If it's not accurate to the game that you're going back to, you shouldn't be aim training almost.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm glad that you can kind of answer that question for Adam as well. And so, this is the time in the show, man, that I give my guests time to plug, man. Anything else that you're working on, websites, how to get in contact with you, what's next with KovaaK's, just let it rip, man.
Yeah, Cody_Dragon on Twitter. If you're esports, just follow me there. You know, I'm just big in the software space and working with the education market and connecting the two. And you know, it's going to be a long journey for us going forward, but we're really lucky in the fact that we've got great partners and people that we're working with. So, you know, if this is something that you are interested in or you're working on, please reach out and contact me, because, you know, the education space needs more of us in it, and working together to bring these experiences to players, to our students, right? That's the main thing, because they want to get better. They want to get better faster. They want to compete against their friends. So we're here to help them, but it will only go so far without our educators. So hopefully reach out to me, Cody_Dragon on Twitter.
Awesome, man. It was a pleasure having you, man. And I thank you for your brotherhood and your friendship, man.
Always.
And it's just the beginning, man. I'm proud to see where you are, man.
And I'll be seeing you soon, right?
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure, man. I can't wait to put that. I might put that on a live stream, man.
Oh, we should. Yeah, we should do something fun with it.
Something crazy.
Big scissors, just.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait.
But it'll be an awesome day, man. So
yeah,
let me close out the show, man.
Okay, man. Chris, thank you so much, man.
All right. That was Cody Dragon, man. To everybody, man, just have a Merry Christmas, man. Be safe, be merry. I know that we can't get together in big numbers due to COVID, but man, trust me, man, you can do Zoom streams, YouTube groups, Facebook groups, whatever you need to do to have some kind of sense of normalcy, man. But I wish you a Merry Christmas, man. We'll be back before New Year's. We'll have a special guest like always. And I always say, go play esports. This is your host, Christopher Turner, signing out.